it up! Turn it up!
The music just turns me on.
Now this demon on the screen is named Baphomet. He's the demon that's set up over the music industry. These celebrities worship Baphomet, and they show you all the time that they worship him, but you just don't notice it. Take a close look at this picture of Baphomet. Now look at what Beyonce is wearing in this picture. Here you have Beyonce wearing a Baphomet suit. She is deep into the Illuminati and Satan worship. She is a demoness. What does she call herself?
I'm a diva. I'm a diva. I'm a diva. I'm a diva.
She calls herself a diva. Diva is a Latin word that means goddess, which proves that she's presenting herself as a god. They believe that they have attained God status through their illuminated minds. Hence the name Illuminati, which means the enlightened ones. That's why the scripture said in Isaiah 47:10, "Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me." Now another reason why Beyonce was chosen besides her talent is her beauty. The Illuminati through the media floods your mind with all these images of her, and then young girls and women want to dress and act just like her. Then you have young boys and men lusting after her. They use her voice and beauty as a form of witchcraft to seduce people and control them. But the scriptures warn us about that. Ecclesiasticus 9 verses 4 and 8. Verse 4. Use not much the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken with her attempts, meaning her temptations. Verse 8. Turn away thine eye from a beautiful woman, and look not upon another's beauty. For many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman. Verse 8 says, many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman. That's why you can't get caught up in the way these female celebrities look, because that's part of the witchcraft that they use to deceive you. A lot of these people have had nose jobs, lip jobs, butt jobs, breast jobs, hair extensions, fake eyelashes, and all types of stuff, all to create this perfect image, an idol for you to worship.
When you go shopping, watch TV, read a magazine, or walk through the city, how well do you pay attention to the assault of logos that invade your space? Have you noticed the same symbols that show up in thousands of logos? Or have you fallen into a media-induced slumber, accustomed to the assault? Humanity has been conditioned by symbolism, and today we are bombarded by logos. The average American is exposed to 600 commercial messages each day. Some symbols and messages we recognize, and some we don't. And what we don't understand can be used against us. And don't think that it stops there. Religious organizations, governments, astrologists, secret societies, non-profits, and health organizations clearly understand the effectiveness of symbolism to communicate a message. Political campaigns are using subliminals in their ad campaigns. The entertainment and gaming industries know that symbols have emotional power and they play on it. The question is, do you know?
Yes. It's in their signal, it's in their covers, it's in the music videos. Look at the backgrounds of many of the music videos. There's a video out with Pharrell and Snoop. There's a point where there's the bottom part of the Masonic compass and square. The square is on one side of the screen and the compass is on the other side. And if you know anything about just visual angles, you can see if you put those two together, which once again is the yin and the yang, it's the female and the male, it's the phallus and the other female portion, and those two artists being together creates the union. And it is so plain, I can only say to people who are awake. And for those who are, please, not only pay attention to this stuff, but understand that these artists, many of them, are put in positions, okay, where they have no choice. I don't want people to think that all the time that the artist always knows what he's doing. At times, these people have been, just like highway robbery when a police officer pulls you over, it is basically, they're extorted, okay? They're extorted. You know, many artists, they'll come up with a drug charge or a gun charge all of a sudden. Yeah. If you want to be successful, you're either going to play your part or you're not going to be there. Period.
And do what you're told, yeah.
and do what you're told. And at the end of the day, if you don't do what you're told, you're going to find you get pulled over with some drugs in your car, and you don't know how it got there, but all of a sudden you're up for charges.
The tradition of great performers and I really want you to hear what I have to say. The tradition of great performers from Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown to Jackie Wilson. The story is usually the same, though. You know, these guys work really hard at their craft, but the story ends the same. They usually are broken, torn, and usually just sad. And the story is very sad in the end because the companies take advantage of them. They really do. And, you know, being the artist that I am, at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them.
Yeah!
So, we can't let them get away with what they're trying to do because now I'm a free agent.
Yeah.
I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. I can do the box set, just give them any 2 songs. So I'm leaving Sony a free agent, owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know. So the way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album.
Michael Jackson was murdered. That claim comes from his sister LaToya, seen here waving to fans from a car in Los Angeles. She says the King of Pop was effectively killed for his money. In interviews with Sunday newspapers, she says she believes her brother was surrounded by a manipulative entourage who fed him drugs and saw him as a cash cow. This so-called bad circle is said to have forced him to sign up for 50 concerts at London's O2 Arena, when in fact he only wanted to do 10. LaToya's also spoken of the moment when she found out about Michael Jackson's death. She was told to get to the UCLA Medical Center, but before she could, her mother was on the phone screaming, "He's dead."
Michael Jackson was murdered because he was no longer cooperating with the system.
It's the Vigilant Christian Mario, and you're here for another edition of Illuminati Media Exposed. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the very strange phenomenon occurring with predictive programming that is showing up in cartoons like Family Guy and The Simpsons. If you haven't seen a video exposing this on YouTube, there is a very weird phenomenon occurring right now that all these prophetic events are showing up in cartoons like Family Guy before they occur. So in today's video here, I wanted to examine this. What's going on? What is the nature of this strange and weird phenomenon? Now let's get into it. So first of all, we need to understand what predictive programming is and what Illuminati mind control is all about. What the Illuminati is engaged in right now is high-level MK Ultra trauma-based mind control. They will do things like celebrity sacrifices in order to create trauma in society. Just look at how the people reacted to Robin Williams' death. It was trauma-based mind control. They seek to control people through fear, and trauma is one way to do that. So the blood sacrifices of many celebrities fulfill an agenda to do mind control on the public because it is trauma-based. Now, again, we're seeing things like the Sandy Hook hoax, the Boston bombing hoax, and things like that. Again, trauma-based mind control used to scare the public and instill fear so that they can be easily controlled afterwards. Now, what is happening with the cartoons is these events are being prophesied before they occur in predictive forms in the cartoons. Now, anyone studying this has to admit that there is something absolutely weird going on here. But is it really what some people claim? Let's look at that. Now, first of all, we need to examine, first of all, who the enemy is. When we're looking at the Illuminati and their mind control and why they're predictively programming us, we need to understand, first of all, who the enemy is. If you haven't seen my video, I'll leave it in the description section, who really started the Illuminati. A lot of people in the truth movement, especially here, they'll say things like Adam Weishaupt. And yes, that might be true in the physical, but the Illuminati was really originating, well, the origins of the Illuminati, the real problem is a spiritual one. If we lose sight that we are in a physical battle, if we lose sight that we're in a spiritual battle and we think that we're in a physical one, then we're really in trouble. And this is what happens to a lot of truthers and individuals who research this. They do not stay grounded in the biblical truth of divine revelation that the Bible gives us. And that is that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and power. There is a demonic element. Now think about it. These guys, these illuminated men, go to places like Bohemian Grove to practice occult rituals in front of these massive owls. The nature of their power is occultic. Never forget that. These are devil worshippers, and the true power is the demons. The demons are real. They are real spiritual beings, fallen angels, who are being called upon by the Illuminati, and that is who they're getting power from. So the real enemy here is the demonic fallen angels. Yeah, I understand we got to focus on the men who channel them and call upon their power and do sacrifices and obey them and are their servants, but the real problem here is always the spiritual one. That's why we need God to intervene, because it is a spiritual battle that only Christ and the cross can defeat. Now, I'm saying all this, and you might be confused as to why I brought all that into this conversation. Well, it's important because the Bible tells us that the devil has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. He has blinded the minds of the world to truth. And one of the ways that he does that is the predictive programming. Only through the power of the Holy Spirit can we see through the programming and see what Satan is truly doing to control the minds in a satanic fashion. Now, other researchers who have studied this really weird phenomenon, like Mark Dice, there's also this gentleman here, Paul Joseph Watson from InfoWars, who have come out and said that the weird phenomenon of these clues showing up in the cartoons is nothing more than what they call synchrodestiny. Now, synchrodestiny is actually an occult demonic doctrine. I've done a video on Deepak Chopra showing that Deepak Chopra is in fact part of the Illuminati agenda. In the description section, I'm going to leave a video that I did, Deepak's Global Meditation for a New World Order Religion Exposed. We need to recognize that the New Age movement is in fact part of the agenda. So in the description section also, I'm going to leave my New Age Movement Exposed series, exposing the Satanic New Age playlist. You need to understand things. 1111 is synchrodestiny. It's a demonic spiritual phenomenon that is occurring. Through coincidences, the demonic spirits are able to lead people into a consciousness awakening, a massive deception. So don't be led astray by anyone who would falsely tell you that these things are occurring strictly because of synchrodestiny. Even if they are, it is demonic in its nature, and we shouldn't be talking about those things anyway. The demonic satanic New Age movement is part of the New World Order agenda. So be very vigilant when you hear people saying key words like consciousness shift and things like that, and attributing, you know, these demonic spiritual activities to Carl Jung's consciousness shift or whatever. It's demonic. The New Age movement is satanic, and we need to wake up to it. No truther should be talking that way. So with that aside, let's just say that, okay, it was possibly just synchrodestiny. I mean, Seth MacFarlane didn't have any direct knowledge to put these things in there. He got it through the demons. The demons imposed this on him. Well, we as truthers need to always examine claims, and that is very important. I mean, that is what makes us a real truther. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a video from another truther, Betsy McGee, and I'm going to leave a link to another video she did on the Sandy Hook hoax. It's actually this one, the Carlos Arredondo, Best Hero, or NWO Fraud. She does a really great job at exposing this stuff. So I'm going to highlight this one in the description section. I want you to check it out. But we're going to go through this one. So we're going to give an opportunity to someone to prove to us that it's very likely that Seth MacFarlane has knowledge, that he is part of the secret cabal working to predictively program the masses in preparation for the trauma-based mind control that is coming, in order that the masses can be controlled through fear so that the Antichrist's agenda to establish his new world order can be fulfilled. Let's examine that. A truther has to examine all the facts. We can't, just because it's a little cartoon, be deviated. And be very careful, because as you inspect this information, you're going to see that there are paid agents who are put in place, gatekeepers, to keep you away from this info. So let's look at this, and really we're going to see if this individual is a crazy kook for trying to find conspiracy predictive programming in cartoons, because it's more than likely.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seth MacFarlane's putrid palette of predictive programming, Pandemonium. Brought to you by Seth MacFarlane, sleazebag trader who works for the satanic cabal that runs the entertainment industry. He says it's abhorrent when people recognize and point out his sneaky little clues that he inserts into his stupid cartoons, foreshadowing the events manufactured by the same cabal that pays him very well to do so.
Seth MacFarlane has criticized an online hoax clip of his animated series Family Guy, which was edited to make it look like main character Peter Griffin planned explosions at the Boston Marathon. MacFarlane called the clip abhorrent, and the original episode, which aired last month and did depict the main character running people over in his car at the marathon, has been pulled by Fox Broadcasting.
The lamestream media, controlled by the same people, repeats what he says, of course. No one investigates, and people continue to tune into Family Guy and American Dad without realizing they're being brainwashed and programmed to accept the cabal's plans.
And I just wanted to point out here something else that's very important. As you notice, the mainstream media has to give you its spin on the story. Oh no, it's not in there, it's not predictive programming. And also what happens is on YouTube here, they know this information is going to get out. They have agents working on YouTube to make you think that this is crazy, that this being in a cartoon is just crazy people. Really pay attention, people. This stuff, synchrodestiny, yeah, demonic spiritual phenomenon, but is that really what's going on here? Come on, let's use our brains.
Let's do the media's job and take a look at the two most recent events he's foreshadowed for his evil masters, the Boston faked bombings and the death of Robin Williams. If a little bit of thought is applied to the seemingly random elements of the cartoon, one can see that we're actually watching a satanic ritual where the names, dates, places, circumstances, and even minuscule details of a future seemingly surprise event are actually planned down to the tiniest detail and shown to us in advance.
That is exactly what this stuff is. This is satanic rituals that is occurring hidden in plain sight, predictively programming the masses to the occult ritual that is going to fulfill the trauma-based mind control. This is hardcore Satanism done by Hollywood producer type quality. I mean, this is high-level deception and stuff, so we need to stay vigilant.
Cartoons are one of their favorite places to do this. Let's start with Boston. First of all, in the episode entitled Turban Cowboy, which aired on St. Patrick's Day, March 17, 2013, only 29 days before the April 15th Boston Marathon, many details of the cartoon allude to the fake bombings and the official story afterward. At 1 minute and 11 seconds in, the main character's friend mentions that he used to be a horse whisperer, which is interesting because the main character in the movie Horse Whisperer has an accident on her horse and needs to have her leg amputated. I'm sure I don't have to tell you how amputation relates to what supposedly went on in Boston on April 15, 2013. At about 2 minutes and 40 seconds in, Harrison Ford is seen throwing skydivers off of a plane.
Wow, is that Harrison Ford? Yeah, it said in the brochure that he assists with all the jumps. Get off my plane! Get off my plane! Get off my plane!
Just like he throws a Russian terrorist off a plane in the movie Air Force One.
Get off my plane!
Our supposed Boston bombers are from Chechnya, a federal republic of Russia. The main premise of the whole episode is that the main character, Peter Griffin, converts to Islam. One of the supposed Boston terrorists, supposedly the bombing mastermind, was also a convert to Islam. Here's Tamerlan, our Boston bombing patsy Islam convert, right up next to Peter's friend Mahmoud, who gets him.
Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, people? Please, wake up. Synchro Destiny. Come on. Like, this is such a resemblance, it's ridiculous.
To convert to Islam. At 3 minutes and 40 seconds, Peter is seen driving a car down a street, running over marathon participants. There are dead bodies and body parts on the ground and a big swath of red blood trailing behind his car. Though this had never happened before, we would see this same sort of scene on Boylston Street in Boston less than a month later at the marathon. I'm trying to figure out which scene looks more cartoonish. Then Peter is asked by a cartoon Bob Costas how he won the Boston Marathon, just in case there's any doubt as to which race was just depicted.
I'm Bob Costas, here with Boston Marathon winner Peter Griffin. Peter, how did you do it?
I'll tell you, Bob, I just got in my car and drove it. And when there was a guy in my way, I killed him.
At 4 minutes and 20 seconds in, the front of the Quahog Public Library is shown. Remember, the first of the 2 fake bombs occurred right in front of the Boston Public Library. At around 5 minutes and 38 seconds in, the Family Guy writers find an excuse to throw in a seemingly random reference to a bowl of M&Ms.
Oh my god, look, a bowl of M&Ms. What are we, 6?
Directly across the street from the Boston Public Library is a candy store called Sugar Heaven, part of the staging area for the fake injuries. Not only were there pictures of M&Ms painted on the front window of the store the day of the marathon, along with a handmade M&Ms sign, but a big blue M&M statue stood outside the door right in the staging area. Yes, they planned it down to that amount of detail. Please note that M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. 2 M's equals 26, just like the 26 miles of the marathon and the 26 people supposedly killed in their other false flag, Sandy hoax. Peter.
Now, I just want to point out something that's very important. When you're looking at these events, you're always going to see sacred numerology. Now, what that is, again, the New Age movement is highly tied into this Luciferian cult. They believe in the power of numbers. Numbers are, in numerology, a form of knowledge. It's a way of having deeper occult knowledge. So they believe that they're doing things at specific times because of those sacred numbers has a deeper effect. So this is a way that we can identify Illuminati activity. It's always done, and there's always some type of numerology associated to it.
Ends up in the hospital due to a skydiving accident and meets a Muslim man named Mahmoud, and later mentions that Mahmoud knew 19 guys who died on 9/11. McFarlane's big on the 9/11 jokes.
Yeah, you know, if a teddy bear makes a joke about something taboo, like, I don't know, 9/11, it's still not okay. It's still not okay, but it maybe goes down a little bit easier because he's got cute, fuzzy fur.
At 15 minutes and 30 seconds into the episode, Peter is seen sitting in a bar attempting to make a call to Mahmoud using a cell phone that Mahmoud has given him. He dials the number once and puts the phone to his ear at 15 minutes and 41 seconds. A bomb goes off outside a short distance away. Peter says something about the phone being busted, then dials again, which triggers another bomb outside, this one louder and closer, accompanied by screams.
Look, I'm gonna call Mahmoud right now on this cell phone he gave me. He'll tell you. Damn phone's busted. Maybe I dialed wrong.
Peter, please stop trying to call Mahmoud.
Exactly like the 2 fake bombs that would go off in Boston about a month later, separated by about 200 yards. At the very end of the episode, 20 minutes and 55 seconds in, Peter uses the same cell phone again and blows up the Quahog Bridge by dialing the same telephone number.
Tell you what, let me call Horace and tell him to get our table ready.
In this same scene, Peter asks his policeman friend whether or not the Muslims that were plotting the foiled attack in the story are going to get a trial.
So what happens next? Do those guys all get trials?
Why ask this question? I mean, a trial for someone accused of a crime is just normal procedure, right? Except normal procedure was not going to be followed about a month later. They knew this, and that's why this part is here. The feds invoked a public safety exception and questioned Dzhokhar Tsarnaev for 36 hours before reading him his Miranda rights. Normal procedure doesn't seem to have been followed for Tamerlan Tsarnaev either. That's why the policeman's answer to Peter is basically no.
Well, you know, it's the process.
See, if you get the American people so riled up about a supposed surprise attack that they don't care about the rights of the accused, on some level you're getting them to acquiesce to the evisceration of basic rights for everyone, including themselves. Keep in mind that the episode aired on March 17, 2013, St. Patrick's Day, with its deep ties to the Irish and therefore Boston. This is not a coincidence. The title again is Turban Cowboy. Turban is for the Muslim terrorists depicted in the episode and the real-life Muslim patsies at the Boston fake bombings. But the cowboy part? Remember the big phony hero from the fake bombings, Carlos Arredondo? He was called the Cowboy Hat Hero because of his white cowboy hat he was wearing as he pushed a man he pretended to rescue past the cameras for their staged photo op. Even the hat's been proven to have been just a prop that was switched during the...
This is the guy she exposed in this video, so I actually have it in the description section. She absolutely destroys this. It's a really good video. Check it out.
picture-taking session at the beginning of the fakery. See, they not only foreshadow the event, but they also like to allude to their manufactured official story afterwards. Here they do it in the very name of the episode. There's another Seth MacFarlane cartoon named American Dad, and on the episode entitled The Missing Kink, which aired the night before the fake bombings, a teenage girl tells the boy she's just gone out with that she had a blast on their date. The boy's reply blatantly indicates further foreknowledge of the false flag planned for the next day.
I had a blast. Well, call the bomb squad, because with the blast I had, that makes 2 blasts.
Now that there's no doubt that Toady Boy McFarlane was fed information about the Boston Marathon false flag ahead of time and told to incorporate elements of the story into his idiotic cartoons, let's move on to a more recent incident that he foreshadowed, where someone may have actually died. Robin Williams' supposed suicide on August 11, 2014. Immediately preceding the announcement of Robin Williams' death, the BBC Three network just happened to play a repeat of a May 2012 Family Guy episode entitled Viewer Mail No. 2. The show began at 11:25 p.m. London time. The news of the actor's apparent suicide broke at around 11:50 p.m., 25 minutes later. So take a 21-minute show, throw in some commercials, and the completion of the show and the suicide announcement happened at pretty much the exact same time. The episode is broken down into 3 parts. The first part, entitled Chap of the Manor, portrays everyone in the Griffin family except Stewie as British, and says it's brought to you by BBC One, just in case you think it's a fluke that it's shown on BBC Three right before Mr. Williams' death hits the airwaves. At a minute and a half in, the family is watching a game show called Wheel of Politeness. For some reason, the Family Guy animators have elected to give only 2 of the visible spaces on the wheel the correct number of prongs, like the actual wheel from the American game show Wheel of Fortune. The 2 spaces that don't have excess prongs are 300 and 600. So here's a nice backwards 63, which is Mr. Williams' age at the time of his death. The number of prongs is their sneaky way of pointing it out. In the 1998 movie, What Dreams May Come, when Robin Williams' character dies and goes to heaven, his spirit guide says this to him.
Last time you saw me, I was 63, stretched out on a cardiac ward. Who wants to be 63 throughout eternity?
Yeah, who wants to be 63 throughout eternity? A little later in the same movie, his character's wife commits suicide. The climax of the Family Guy segment is a death that takes place in a tunnel. You'll never guess where Mr. Williams' character is when he dies in the movie What Dreams May Come. A tunnel. This is one of many examples of the Cabal connecting their clues in different places. Like not only showing Lisa Simpson holding up this bus schedule to signify 9/11, but also having Bart Simpson hold up cash in front of it to tell you that 9/11 is laid out step by step in perfect detail on the U.S. money supply. At the very end of the Chap of the Manor segment, Lois says that she's just glad that everyone's safe and sound in their little row house. Peter looks at the camera and repeats row house, the same way he says roadhouse over and over again in another Family Guy episode entitled Brian's Got a Brand New Bag.
Well, I'm just happy our family is safe and sound back in our cozy row house.
Roadhouse. Keep the change. Roadhouse.
This show starts with Peter Griffin in a video store buying the Patrick Swayze movie Roadhouse. The video store clerk attempts to give him a free copy of What Dreams May Come, which we just talked about, but he flatly refuses it. The movie is placed on a shelf with other unwanted Williams films. A few minutes later, Peter says, "Get off my plane," as he starts to attack the family dog in a fit of Roadhouse kicking imitation.
Get off my plane. It's not even the same. Oh, what the hell?
This Brian's Got a Brand New Bag episode that shows the movie What Dreams May Come aired on November 8th, 2009. 11/8 is the date of Williams' death backwards. In the second segment, called Fat Man and Robin, hundreds of Robin Williams clones are shown, and Robin Williams, in various incarnations, stopped Peter Griffin from committing suicide 3 different times. So it's very much about Mr. Williams. This segment begins with a roast of Mr. Williams, especially sickening because Mr. Williams would be cremated immediately after his death. Try as I might, I couldn't find one video on YouTube of a roast with flames on and around the initials of the person being joked about. The story goes that Peter wishes that everyone was Robin Williams. He's given the power to change everyone into Williams, and soon he's done this to pretty much everyone in town, including almost every member of his family. When Peter changes the local news anchor into Robin Williams, both of Williams' hands can be seen making the OK/666 sign, even though he only has 4 fingers, so it doesn't really... Oh, okay, that's better. A world filled with Robin Williamses loses its charm quickly. Peter can't stand the incessant and at times repetitive Robin Williams humor, and, seeing no way out, starts to try various methods of offing himself, but Robin Williams saves him every time. First, Peter tries to shoot himself in the head, but the gun turns into Williams because Peter has touched it. Peter then tries to throw himself in front of a moving car, which also turns into Williams, and Peter bounces right off. Peter then throws himself off a cliff, but the rock at the bottom turns into Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire and cushions his fall. Peter then decides to tell all of the other Williams clones to go forth into the country and spread their comedy, but he orders 5 of them to stay as substitutes for his family. The final scene shows Peter and the 5 family replacement clones sitting at the kitchen table having breakfast. The Williams clones are dressed up like the various family members and are joking amongst themselves. Peter looks like he's lost his mind. Then they zoom in a bit, and the Robin Williams clone replacement for Brian the dog asks Peter to pass the coffee. Peter has cut off his hands in an effort to stop the curse of turning everything into Robin Williams, so we see only bloody stumps as he brings his hands up to the table. Do you see the problem with this scene? Robin Williams is supposed to have died, sitting in a chair, with something tight around his neck, and he also supposedly tried slitting his wrist. Here's an extreme Family Guy-style representation of this.
Like, are you kidding me, people? Are you kidding me? Sitting in a chair, something tied around his neck, cut wrist, Peter's crazy, he died of psychological problems, apparently. Come on. This is beyond coincidence and synchrodestiny.
There are only 2 inanimate objects that Peter turns into Williams that aren't directly related to stopping Peter's suicide attempts. One is a teapot, the other is a door. According to the official story, Williams closed one end of the belt he used to kill himself between a door and a door frame. In the third and last segment of the cartoon, called Point of Stew, a day of the baby's life is shown from his point of view. At the very beginning, we get a quick glimpse of the number 13 that goes by almost too fast to see. Then at bath time, Stewie plays with a shark in the tub. The town of Tiburon is where Robin Williams died, and Tiburon means shark in Spanish. Close to the end, Stewie goes back in time and prevents Kurt Cobain from committing suicide. So this is 4 times that suicide is mentioned in one way or another during a 21-minute-long Family Guy cartoon that heavily features Robin Williams, shown on the date of his death and ending almost exactly when news of Mr. Williams' death hit the airwaves. This is also the 20th anniversary of Cobain's very suspicious suicide, with his band being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year and new evidence from the death scene being released. Then Stewie's mom reads him a bedtime story called Goodnight Town from Footloose. How random, right? Except for the fact that the main character in Footloose is from Chicago, just like the person whose death via faked suicide is foreshadowed in this cartoon. So to recap, McFarlane foreshadowed the hell out of the Boston mess. 29 days before, his cartoon referenced terrorists from Russia, a conversion to Islam, a library which is where the first fake bomb went off, the M&Ms in the victim injury scenery, dead bodies, body parts, and blood on the streets at the Boston Marathon, 2 bombs detonated a few seconds apart by cell phone, a reference to normal procedure not being followed after the arrest of Muslims, allusion to both the Muslims and the fake cowboy hat hero right in the name of the episode, and the night before on a different cartoon by Seth MacFarlane, a reference to 2 blasts and the bomb squad.
So that's just in the one episode. All the coincidences, the predictive programming that can be pointed out. She does a fantastic job, as you can see here, analyzing it, just putting together this very nicely for you to see that this is very unintelligent and illogical to claim that this is just pure coincidence. There is a demonic spiritual phenomenon known as synchrodestiny, where demons will give people information and lead them through coincidences, but I do not believe that's what we're seeing here. This looks like foreknowledge. It looks like planned predictive programming for trauma-based mind control happening at a massive scale. If you really analyze this and you've been in the truth movement a while, it becomes obvious that that is what is occurring. So be very careful. Let's just finish this.
And don't forget the horse whisperer mentioned at the very beginning, a movie in which the main character has had to have her leg amputated. As for foreshadowing Robin Williams' death, we see a backwards 63, Williams' age at the time of death pointed out, an allusion to death in a tunnel, like Williams' character in another movie about death and suicide, which also foreshadows his age at death, Williams preventing suicide 3 different times in the middle segment. Mr. Williams, represented in the final scene of that segment, is sitting in a chair with something tight around his neck, which is how he's supposed to have died. Another person at the same table in this scene with his hands cut off, an extreme way of alluding to slit wrists. One of 2 inanimate objects in the entire cartoon not involved in stopping a suicide, changed into Williams being an item used in the supposed suicide. Covert satanic numerology in the 2 666s and the 13 on the block. Sneaky mentions of the town where Mr. Williams was born and the town where he died. Another suicide prevented in the final segment, which also serves to reference another celebrity who supposedly killed himself while still quite popular and under very sketchy circumstances 20 years ago. And the episode with all of this in it, replayed on the date of Mr. Williams' death, the end of the episode coinciding with the death announcement.
So all that happening in that episode, all these coincidences predictively programmed within the Family Guy episode. So I'm going to end it off here. The link for the rest of the videos in the description section, along with Carlos Arredondo, Boston Hero, or NWO Fraud. I highly recommend that you check this video out. And also I'd like to see your thoughts and comments, fellow truthers and NWO researchers. What do you think's going on here? What is this predictive programming that is occurring? I mean, even other researchers have to admit that something is going on. They attribute it, like I said, to synchrodestiny, but as I've showed you, synchrodestiny itself is a New Age demonic doctrine. It is possible that demons are behind this, but it is more likely impossible, once you analyze this, that Seth MacFarlane is part of the cabal, receiving information, and is part of the agenda to use trauma-based mind control on the masses, and his job is to predictively program the events before they happen. This is mind control. This is the Illuminati. This is the Vigilant Christian saying God bless each and every one of you, and as always, stay vigilant.